Welcome back to Grammar Unplugged, everyone. Today, Sandy and I are tackling a topic that honestly trips up almost every English learner, and sometimes even native speakers get a bit fuzzy on the rules articles. We're talking about an, the.
Oh, Michael, you've hit the nail on the head. I remember when I was first learning, these three little words felt like the Bermuda Triangle of grammar. You know, you go in, you try to figure out if it's a apple or an apple, the dog or just dog, and you just get lost.
Exactly. And it's funny because they're so fundamental, so common, yet so deceptively complex. Let's start with the basics, shall we? The indefinite articles, a and an. What's the main idea behind using these, Sandy?
Okay, so for a and an, the big thing is that you're talking about something non-specific. It's one of many. And crucially, it's about the sound of the next word, not just whether it starts with a vowel or consonant. That's where a lot of people get confused.
Spot on. It's all about the sound. So a comes before a word that starts with a consonant sound. Think a car, a house, a dog. Simple enough.
And an comes before a word that starts with a vowel sound. An apple, an elephant, an umbrella. But here's where it gets tricky, right? What about an hour or a university?
Ah, excellent examples. An hour, the, is silent, so the first sound you hear is the vowel, hence an hour. Similarly, a university. University starts with a U sound, which is a consonant sound, not a vowel sound, even though it's spelled with a U, so it's a university.
Mind blown for many, I'm sure. I mean, I had a friend who was a real stickler for grammar, and even she paused when I first brought up a university. It really is that sound rule that's key. So, just to reiterate, a and an are for singular, countable nouns, and they're indefinite, not specific.
Precisely. Like if I say, I saw a bird in the park, it means any bird, not a particular bird you or I already know about. It's also used for professions, right? I'm a teacher, she's an engineer.
Yes, absolutely. And when you're introducing something for the first time. I bought a new book yesterday. It's about a detective who solves a mystery. You see, it's all new information.
Perfect segue into the fur, our definite article. If you say, I bought a new book yesterday, the book is really exciting, now we're using the. Why the switch, Sandy?
Because now we're talking about a specific book. We introduced it with a because it was just a book, one of many. But once we've mentioned it, or if it's clear from the context which book we're referring to, then it becomes the book. It's like you've identified it.
Exactly. The is for when both the speaker and the listener know exactly which noun is being referred to. It can be singular, plural, countable, or uncountable. That's a big difference from a fur and an, which are only for singular, countable nouns.
Right, so I can say the dog if we've been talking about my dog, or the dogs if we're talking about a group of dogs we both know, or even the water if we're talking about the specific water in that bottle, not water in general.
Yep, the water in the glass versus water is essential for life. Big distinction there. Another common use for the is when there's only one of something, or it's unique in the context. The sun, the moon, the earth, the internet. There's only one, so it's definite.
Oh, and superlatives. That's a big one. The best, the tallest, the most beautiful. You always use the there, don't you?
Always, because by saying the best, you're pointing to a very specific, unique item in its category. There can only be one best, right? Or at least one that's currently being discussed as the best. And what about geographical features?
Right, so like the Amazon River, the Sahara Desert, the Pacific Ocean, but then you wouldn't say the France or the London, so usually not with countries or cities, unless it's a specific group like the United States.
Exactly. The United Kingdom, the Netherlands, but France, Germany, Japan, no article. It's these kinds of specific rules that can make it so challenging. It's like a linguistic minefield sometimes.
It really is! So we've covered a and an for singular, non-specific, countable nouns based on sound, and the for specific nouns, whether singular, plural, countable, or uncountable, or unique things. But then there's the zero article, which is when you use no article at all. That's another head-scratcher.
Indeed, the zero article is just as important as the others. We use it when we're talking about plural countable nouns or uncountable nouns in a general sense. Like your example earlier, water is essential for life. Not the water, just water.
Or, I love books, not I love the books, unless I'm talking about specific books, just books in general. Or, money doesn't buy happiness.
Precisely. Generalizations. Another common use is with proper nouns, names of people, cities, countries, continents, streets. Michael, Sandy, London, Asia, Oxford Street. You don't say the Michael.
Unless, of course, you're trying to be funny or point out a specific Michael in a group of Michaels. No, I'm talking about the Michael, the one who always wears funny hats.
Haha, exactly. Always an exception to the rule, which is why English is so much fun. But generally with proper nouns, no article. We also use the zero article with abstract nouns like love, freedom, justice, when we're talking about them in a general sense.
And some fixed expressions, like go to school, go to work, go to bed, at home. You don't usually say go to the school unless you're talking about a very specific school that's already known.
You got it. I'm going to school now means going to attend classes, whereas I'm going to the school to pick up my child means a specific building. The context completely changes the usage. It's all about how specific and how general you're being.
Okay, so let's try a quick mental exercise. If I say I saw a cat, what does that tell you?
It tells me you saw one cat, and it's not a particular cat either of us already knows about. It's just a cat.
Right. Now if I say the cat ran across the road, what's implied there?
Now that implies we're both aware of which cat you're talking about. Perhaps it's the cat you just mentioned, or a cat that's a known presence in the neighborhood. It's specific.
Exactly. And if I just say cats are independent animals?
That's a generalization about all cats. Zero article. Beautifully done, Sandy. It's a tricky dance, but once you get the rhythm, it feels more natural.
It really is a dance. I think the biggest takeaway for our listeners is to always think, am I being specific or general? Is this the first time I'm mentioning this, or have we already established it? And for versus an, listen to the sound.
Those are excellent guiding questions. And practice, practice, practice. Read more, listen more. You'll start to internalize the patterns. You know, sometimes I'll catch myself pausing for a split second to decide if it's a or an even now. Especially with unfamiliar words, it's not always instantaneous.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a muscle you need to train. The more you expose yourself to correct usage, the more natural it becomes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we learn. Just try to be mindful of these rules as you speak and write.
Absolutely. It's about developing that intuitive feel for the language, and sometimes, even if you make a mistake with an article, a native speaker will still understand you perfectly. But getting it right just makes your English sound so much more natural and polished.
It certainly does, and it really improves clarity. There are times when misusing an article can actually change the meaning, even subtly, so it's worth the effort.
Exactly. So to recap, a and an for singular, non-specific countable nouns, determined by the initial sound. The for specific nouns, whether singular, plural, countable, or uncountable, or unique items. And no article for generalizations with plural or uncountable nouns, or with most proper nouns and fixed expressions.
Perfect summary, Michael. I think we've covered a lot of ground today. Hopefully our listeners feel a little less lost in the Bermuda Triangle of English articles now.
I certainly hope so too, Sandy. Thank you for joining me today and helping to untangle this often confusing aspect of English grammar. And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. Keep practicing, keep listening, and keep reading.
Yes, keep learning. We'll be back next time with another grammar topic that's probably been bugging you. Until then, take care, everyone.